In 1997, I was all about 3D. Move aside, you pesky 2D piece of... You smell and look old, just like I currently do. My little child brain was completely invested into the Sega Saturn. That was the first of the new wave of consoles I was gifted by my late older brother in 1996. So I'm already a year late to what's actually hot and popular. I didn't know any better though. All kidding aside, I still enjoy 2D of course. The Sega Saturn was a solid 2D machine. But those Nintendo 64 commercials really sold me to believe that 2D was an outdated mess. My buddy had an N64. It allowed me to dabble with the games, mainly Star Fox 64
Do a barrel roll!
and Super Mario 64. I was happy though with my Virtual Cop, Daytona USA, and Scud the Disposable Assassin. Oh, so many fond memories. But little did I know what awaited me in Christmas of 1997. This would inevitably change my outlook on brand loyalty to Sega or Nintendo. My horizons were broadened, and I would never look back to sticking to one company ever again.
PlayStation.
More than 200 animators and programmers. A multi-million-dollar production. Over 2 years in the making. And a cast of thousands. They said it couldn't be done in a major motion picture. They were right. Final Fantasy VII.
My brother was completely sold on the Final Fantasy VII trailer. He bought the hype so bad. He had no clue at all what a Final Fantasy was, much less a Japanese RPG, but he was hyped nonetheless. It started with him talking about how the PlayStation was going to be awesome. I didn't pay much attention though. I had the opinion that Sega Saturn and Nintendo were the future. Sony made stereos and movie playing devices. What did they know? Now, our quality of life had already improved. My brother was working and contributed to rent. I was only 11, so I had no contributions for the exception of chores, and without an allowance. My mother was still working her 2 jobs a day. My older brother and I shared a room though, and I have no idea why he thought this was a clever move, but he purchased the PlayStation from a Toys R Us. He left it in the bag and placed it in an area of the closet that I couldn't get to, but the bag was just hanging out there begging to be noticed. And that's exactly what happened. Sometime before Christmas, I was able to spot it. At first, I was perplexed to what the bag was. Well, probably my present of course, so I grabbed the chair from the dining room. There, my curiosity was replaced by utter shock and amazement, followed by a tremendous surge of impatience. I was engrossed, looking at those pictures the back of the box showed. Everything looks amazing. Well, Christmas Eve came, and I opened the present, and there it was, the Sony PlayStation. Keep in mind that in Hispanic culture, we open gifts at midnight, and it is customary to stay up all night. I opened that sucker up and hooked it up to the living room TV. This old big wooden RCA branded television. The 2 games he got me were Crash Bandicoot and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I wasn't really exposed to Castlevania at this time, and the fact that it was 2D had me directly insert Crash Bandicoot with not a second thought. It was 3D! It was an injustice to Symphony of the Night. I still hold it as one of my favorites, but that wouldn't come till late. I spent all night playing that game, writing passwords as I progressed. Can't fully remember now, but I imagine it took me about a week before I had 100% completed the game. You know, with all the gems. This is also the time that my brother started to take a backseat to gaming. He would watch me play, but very casually still played himself. He was there to witness me play through and complete many games. The nearby Blockbuster filled in the gaps in games that we couldn't always afford, so lots of games to be rented. But we didn't have a memory card. We wouldn't buy one for quite some time. The first game I rented was Resident Evil 2. I had no idea what Resident Evil was and had no previous exposure to survival horror. That front cover with the zombie looking through the cracked open door had me drawn to it instantly. I remember playing that game over and over, advancing slowly as the days went by. Eventually I was making it to the last boss, but any mistake would send me spiraling back to the beginning. The night before, we had to return it. On a school night nonetheless. I made it to the last boss again, but my mother came in and announced it was my bedtime. It was around 11:30 p.m. though. My brother came into the room and shook me awake. Mother was sleeping. He told me to be quiet and led me back to the living room. We turned the TV back on, and there under the darkness of night, with the volume barely up, I was able to finally beat Resident Evil 2. Around this time, I finally tried out Castlevania and fell in love with the damn thing. It reminded me of Super Metroid naturally.
What is a man?
Still, no memory card though. So, I would start playing the game and slowly advance more and more. I eventually learned how to get through to the bad ending in one sitting. I liked the game so much that I would play it over and over again. But one day, due to curiosity, I bought the item that allowed for magical doors to open. Upon exploring, I stumbled upon more of the map. My mind was blown, exploring more and more until I finally was able to accidentally unlock the inverted castle and get the good ending. I was, without knowing, training up to be a speedrunner, with how much I was able to get to the point of blowing past these games without saving. Full disclosure, I'm not a speedrunner. I'm quite the opposite of that. I think I've made that clear. Finally though, the day came along with my introduction to Japanese RPGs. We bought a memory card and rented Breath of Fire 3. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Beautiful sprites running around a sprawling 3D world. A sprawling world that consisted of floating towns and platforms, much like Super Mario RPG. I was able to finally save though. My brother had never seen a JRPG before. He was absolutely disgusted that I enjoyed them. I remember his comment as he sat and watched me play one time. He straight up looked over and said, "Wow, you really have terrible taste in games." I still laugh about it to this day. But hey, just like movies, that's what's awesome about video games. Something for everyone, right? Of course, there will be more to experience in the coming months and years. I played Metal Gear, Silent Hill, Final Fantasy 7 through 9. My favorite RPG of all time is Xenogears. What a time. My Sega Saturn, of course, got sidelined. Still got played from time to time. But I was all eyes on for the PlayStation during this